today we will be talking about cow superpowers. Also, what cow superpowers have to do with finding your own carbon footprint. So to get started, I'm from Wisconsin, so I love cows. What's not to love? Cheese, milk, beef, cows are wonderful. So we'll talk a little bit about what cow superpowers are, because did you know that they have superpowers? Well, they do. So we'll talk about what cow superpowers are and also what your carbon footprint means and what it is. How do those go together? Well, let's find out. So I already asked this and I'm going to ask again, but did you know that cows have amazing superpowers? They do. It's true. Besides just being super adorable, they have some superpowers. So one of those superpowers is being able to upcycle or take food and land that humans cannot utilize so that we can't eat. It's not nutritious to us. We can't process it in our bodies, but cows can, and they take that and turn that into high quality, protein-packed meat and also other important products, milk and cheese, delicious stuff. And on this slide, you can see some awesome pictures. So cows, also superpower fact, they have a stomach that has four, you guessed it, 4 compartments. Not 4 stomachs, it's 4 compartments. So this is also a superpower because cattle, cows in this case, have 4 stomach compartments. The largest is the rumen, which is why cattle are often referred to as ruminant animals. So you can see in the picture here that the cow's stomach is divided into those little sections, and clearly the rumen is the largest section. So what that has to do with cows having superpowers is the rumen microbes. They give cattle the upcycling superpower that we talked about before. They help cattle upgrade plants that have little to absolutely no nutritional value for people, humans, to high quality protein, micronutrients, and other important products. So you can see that in that little infographic there. So high quality protein comes from that. So our meat, also leather is something that is another high quality product, as well as some other things. You will also see the stomach can have 40 to 50 gallons in volume. That is huge. That's actually the size of your bathtub, which I can fit in a bathtub. But like drinking a gallon of milk, that's larger than my stomach. So a cow's stomach can be 40 to 50 gallons, the size of a bathtub. That is huge. And that stomach is naturally filled with trillions of microbes that can break down those plants that we talked about that are inedible. We as humans, that means we can't eat them. Also, one of the things you'll see is fewer cattle, less emissions, that section over there. So if you look at that, you will see that beef and cows, they do have a carbon footprint. This is how we're tying it all together. They have a carbon footprint. It is 10 to 50 times lower in the United States than some nations. So GHG stands for greenhouse gas. And these are emissions that are transmitted into our atmosphere. We'll go into a little more detail about them in the next slides. But cattle only produce 2% of the United States greenhouse gas emissions, the GHG emissions, which is pretty low because you can see that 40.9% are other sources, and those other sources include humans and people. So that's something to think about because compared to cows, almost 41%, that's a huge difference. So I already said this, but cows are ruminants. Look at that cutie over there. So ruminants means that they have a special digestive system that allows them to eat things that other animals cannot eat. So ruminants have 4 compartments in their stomachs that enable them to eat grasses, grain byproducts, and other vegetation that an animal with only one stomach, which is monogastric, one stomach, like pigs or humans, cannot eat. And now we'll get a little more into greenhouse gases and what that actually means. So greenhouse gases are naturally occurring gases. Things such as carbon dioxide, methane, water vapor, ozone, and nitrous oxide that are all released into our atmosphere here on Earth. Humans and animals have increased these levels of gases, these greenhouse gases, beyond what is normal for the Earth. The Earth has its own natural environment, and it's stabilized, and it requires certain things. And it includes gases, but these greenhouse gases are beyond what is normal for the Earth's regular environment. So an increase in these gases can have a negative impact on the Earth's climate. So I was talking about cows, but as you could see in that one infographic, humans are a part of this too, and we're emitting greenhouse gases as well. So in order to help the Earth and not have as much of a negative impact, we need to figure out ways to decrease our own carbon footprint. All right, what I need you to do is go grab a pen or a pencil and some paper. This is when we get to figure out what your carbon footprint is. Once you have those, we'll get started. I have a series of 10 questions. In these 10 questions, there's going to be a number following the answer. That number is what you are going to write down, and we will add that together to get your total carbon footprint. So the first question, how do you get to school? Or if you're an adult, how do you get to work? A, you walk. B, you bike. C, take a car. D, a bus. Or E, carpool. As you can see on this slide, there's numbers behind each of these answers. That number represents the pounds of carbon dioxide per year that is released by each of these methods per person, for one person. So what you're going to do is write down on your sheet of paper the number of your answer. So for me, I drive to work in my car. So my total is 1,115. So write that down on your paper, your total. For me, that's 1,115. And then we'll go to the next question. The next question is, do you eat mostly A, fast food, or B, home-cooked meals? Fast food can also include going out to eat and dining out, not just places like McDonald's or Burger King. This also includes sit-down restaurants, like Perkins as well. Or do you have home-cooked food? Do you help your family cook food? Does your family cook food with you? All of those things. So what you're going to do is write down your number answer here. So for me, I eat a lot of home-cooked food. So that is 629. Write that below the last question's number that you wrote. And then you are going to add them together. So my total, the first question is 1,115 for driving the car to work, plus home-cooked food. I eat mostly, so that is 629, which puts me at a total of 1,744. All right, so you're kind of getting the gist of how to do this. So we'll move on to the next one. Do you eat mostly A, vegetables and fruit, B, meat, C, bread? And for this question, it's kind of hard. You have to pick one answer, what you eat most. So I'll give you an example. For me, I assumed I ate a lot of bread, and that would be my most, because I eat tortillas all the time, I have wraps, but also in those, I always have meat, and I eat meat a little more. So for me, my total for this question is the 644, because my answer is meat, and I'm going to add that to my previous total, that 1,744, which will give me my new total. So I'd like you to take a second and do the same. Question. Do you turn off lights when you leave a room? A, yes. B, no. And again, write down the number answer here, which represents the pounds of carbon dioxide per year. So write that down. So for me, yes, I turn off lights when I leave a room. So I will add that to my previous answer. And I will have a total of 2,521 pounds of carbon dioxide per year. Is, do you unplug appliances or chargers, which includes phone chargers, when not in use? A, yes, B, no. Again, you will add this answer to your last total. So for me, my total is now 2,539. The next question is, how do you dry your clothes? A, do you hang to dry? B, use a dryer? Or C, both? So we live in Iowa. Iowa is a place that gets winters. You don't always want to be drying your clothes outside in the winter. So sometimes people hang dry their clothes in the summer and use their dryers in the winter. That's a great example of using both. So take your answer here and add it to the total you had in your last one. We'll move along to the next question. How do you turn off the water do you turn off the water when you're brushing your teeth? Crazy question, but also makes you really think. So yes, I turn off the water when I'm brushing my teeth, or no, I leave the water running when I'm brushing my teeth. Add that answer to your last total. For me, the next question, do you turn the TV off when you're not watching it? A, yes, B, no. Again, add this answer to your previous total. For me, do you turn your video game system off when you're not watching it? A, yes, B, no, or C, I don't have or I don't use a video game system. For this question, please note that video game systems include PlayStations, Nintendo Switch, Game Boys, Xbox, and also phones. If you play a lot of video games on phones or your computer, that counts as a video game system for this question. So do you turn that off when you're not watching it? Add that answer to your total. The next question, do you recycle? And now this question is a little different than our previous questions. You are going to select all that apply for this question. You will also see that all of these are negative numbers. So recycling actually helps decrease your carbon footprint. So for me, as you can see, I added all of these together or subtracted the total of all of these. I recycle magazines, glass, plastic, aluminum, and steel cans. I am very bad at recycling newspapers. So my total now is 3,272. What is your total carbon footprint? In the number of pounds of carbon dioxide per year. That's what this means. So what that number, my final number is listed there, 3,272. That is the number of pounds of carbon dioxide per year that I emit. I am one person. So imagine your family. What are ways that you can do to reduce your own carbon footprint? I want you to look back at your answers, the questions that we just went through. All those numbers. What changes can you make in your life to reduce your carbon footprint? What can you turn off that you already don't turn off? What can you change in how you prepare food to help reduce your carbon footprint? What can you recycle? And how can you use less electronics in your life? Think about those and discuss those. Now, I challenge you to implement the changes that you discussed on the last slide and to take this quiz again after you've been doing those changes that you've made for 1 month. So this is the challenge. Make those changes and then take the quiz again after 1 month of making those changes and compare your two surveys. And I want you to see if and by how much you reduced your own carbon footprint. So I'm going to bring it back a little bit. At the beginning, I talked about cow superpowers, right? And their carbon footprint a little bit and the emissions they leave. Well, cattle farmers are also very concerned with reducing their carbon footprint on their farming operations, which we talked a little bit about. But I want to give you a more clear-cut example. So one way that they've been able to do this is they have more productive cows. Compared to 1977, today's beef farmers and ranchers produce the same amount of beef with 33% fewer cattle. They did it by improving the overall health and welfare of the cattle, improving nutrition, and breeding cattle that grow faster. So this means that farmers have lowered the carbon footprint that they have and use fewer natural resources for every pound of beef produced. So as you can see, you can do a lot to change your carbon footprint, but others also impact these carbon footprints and how you're eating and how things are processed. So it's really an interconnected cycle and really cool to look at. So again, here's my challenge to you. Implement the changes that you discussed and then take the quiz again and try it. Cattle farmers have reduced their own carbon footprint. So I know that you can reduce your own carbon footprint. I can't wait to see and hear about it.